Hi, Leo. We're about to get started. All right. Here's the clicker here. All right. We're going to get started now. Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. My name is Madeline Duran. I'm the Investor Relations Manager at Civic. And tonight with me is my coworker, Bo Byers. He's one of our title agents and attorneys. Thanks for coming out tonight. We're going to be talking about adjudicated properties, how to go about purchasing these properties. We're going to go through exactly what it is that Civic is doing on the back end, partnering with St. Bernard Parish government to make all of these properties available to you right online on civicsource.com through the public auction. Bo's going to walk you through exactly what it is that we're doing on the back end to clear the title, what it is that means, what we're doing when we're writing title insurance on these properties, and then I'm going to take you through a preview of what it's going to look like on auction day, how to go about navigating the site, exactly how to bid, and then how to search for the properties. So we're going to take you through a PowerPoint presentation, and then we're going to walk you through a live demo of the website, show you exactly how it all works. If you haven't already created a free civicsource.com account, you'll need to create one in order to participate in the monthly auctions, but that's easy to do so, and I'll walk you through that. I even brought some computers tonight as well, so feel free to stick around after the session. We can answer some more of your specific questions, but we're going to take your questions during the presentation as well. I'll stop and take a break after we've gone through the PowerPoint, and then I'll go into the live demo, all right? So without further ado, I'm going to let Bo go ahead and get started for us.
All right. Thank you all so much for coming this evening. I just want to tell you how much we appreciate it. So the question I always get when we start off doing these things is, what does it matter to you all? Well, it matters for a number of reasons. The first reason is that we've sold around 300 of these here in St. Bernard Parish, and there's another 260 available on our website. So that's a huge opportunity for you all as investors to actually have an opportunity to both give back to your parish by investing in property here, as well as make a little side change when you're making money off real estate. But Civic Source as a company, we are a New Orleans-based company. We are familiar with the laws here. We got started in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, helping the city of New Orleans collect on their property taxes. And so we started doing that by doing their annual tax sale. We got really good at that, and we got so good that what happened is that everyone started buying property taxes every year. But the problem is that from the hurricane and forward, New Orleans had this huge backlog of properties. These are properties called adjudicated properties. And adjudicated properties are properties that went up for the annual tax sale and no one purchased them. And so we started selling these properties in New Orleans in 2015. And the big challenge to what we do and what makes our process so much different than the process that you get from any other company or any other jurisdiction selling these properties is that we sell every property with guaranteed title insurance. And there's a number of challenges that come with that, and I'm going to be explaining them to you, and hopefully I can explain them in a quick and easy way that makes you all understand it. And if I don't, we'll have a Q&A at the end so I can explain the answers. But all the properties that we have listed on civicsource.com here in St. Bernard Parish, all 260 of them, were adjudicated for someone's failure to pay their property taxes. And then once they got adjudicated, no one came back and paid the taxes for at least 5 years. On average, across the state of Louisiana, we've seen that number be a lot more than 5 years. We've seen it be 23 years. So these are abandoned properties that people have forgotten about. And the parish gives us a list of properties, and we go around and we make sure these are properties that we can actually sell. We make sure they haven't disappeared into water or that they didn't have any kind of crazy environmental issues. And once we do that, we list them on our website. You'll go on our website and you'll see a bunch of little red dots, and every single one of those red dots represents a property that you're actually able to invest in, a property that you have an opportunity to purchase. And to start off that purchase, we require an investor, so any of you could do this, or any investor who sees a property online, to place a deposit. Just like in any real estate sale, the deposit is a security deposit for us. What the security deposit does for us is it secures us knowing that at least one person finds the property valuable enough to pay our advertised purchase price. That number can escalate, go up or down a little bit based off how much work we have to do. But on average, that number seems to be around $5,600. So when we place these properties up, we're putting that number on there, and we're asking you all to place a deposit to let us start doing our work. Every auction on civicsource.com is investor driven. So that means that every single one of you has actually came in and place a deposit. The governments don't tell us where to place deposits. The mayor of New Orleans doesn't tell us in New Orleans which properties to sell. We actually require one of you to put your money where your mouth is and actually place that $850 deposit. And what that deposit does is it initiates our title clearing process. There are a couple hurdles along the way, and if anything comes back that makes us think that we can't sell the property to you, you'll be getting back your deposit. The first thing would be is if when we started doing the title research, we realized that we were not advertising the property correctly. Say we thought it looked like a big house and instead it's the lot next to the big house that doesn't have anything on it. We'll call you, we'll let you know that, and you can give us back your deposit. Or say that we start doing the title research and we realize there's a big drainage servitude to the parish running right up the middle of it. In that case, we'll say nobody can build on this, so we're going to call the person and let you know, hey, this is a problem, do you want us to continue? Finally, if we figure out that there's going to be a lot more costs associated with the sale than what we average. Usually that number is, if it's over $500 from what we were advertising online, we'll give you a call and say, hey, this property looks like it's going to be a lot more expensive to clear the title than we thought. If you want us to continue, we will. If you say yes, if you say continue, or if we don't have any problems that arise, we will continue through doing our title clearing. We'll be sending letters out to people who will have the opportunity to come back and redeem their taxes. They were the people who failed to pay their taxes at least 5 years ago, but on average 23 years ago. Say they do that. Say they come back and pay their taxes. In that case, you'll get your $850 back. But if they don't come back and pay their taxes, we'll go on to auction and say that you're the winner and you won the property at $5,000. That $850 counts towards your purchase price. So you only owe $4,150 with your closing because you've already paid $850 with your deposit. But say that I come in and bid instead, and I say it's worth $6,000 and you've only bid and you only thought it was worth $5,000. Not only would I be crazy and made a bad investment, not only would Civic Source fire me because I'm not actually allowed to participate in our auctions, but also I would have to pay the whole $6,000 and you would get your $850 back. The only way you will not be getting your $850 back or winning the property is if at the end of when the property goes up for auction, nobody bids on it in the entire public, including you. There's not an automatic bid placed with your deposit. You'll have to get on once and bid. But if you place that $850 down and you place one bid, you will not be losing that deposit. But what that deposit's doing is it's continuing our title clearing process. And so it puts a property into our clearing process, and we typically take in our office 3 months. It takes us about a month of research and scheduling it for auction, and then we have a statutory 2-month waiting period when people have their rights to come back and pay their taxes. So are any of you all familiar with the quiet title process? No. Okay, well, that's a process where you pay an attorney large gobs of money to come in and actually clear the title and give you full title ownership on the property. You don't have to do that with these properties because we are doing all of that before we even place the property up for auction. We're making sure that every single person who owned the property has the right to be noticed, and we're spending money on fancy software to do it. We're spending money on attorneys to do it, and we're making sure that the process is done right because we're sending every single person who holds an interest, whether it's a mortgage or a lien, or whether they're the owners of the property and it was their grandmother's property. They will all be receiving a letter that says that they have 2 months to come back and pay their taxes, 60 days. And if they fail to do so, the property will be sold to a new investor. So we send those letters out and we wait. We wait 2 months. Then we'll come through and we'll guarantee that everyone who was supposed to get a letter received that letter. We'll make sure that nobody came back and redeemed their taxes. And once we've been able to guarantee that, we will put the property up for auction. Our auctions happen the first Wednesday of every month. They start at 8 a.m. They go to 8 p.m. That is subject to a sliding close. Madeline's going to explain it in a lot better detail than I will, but what that means is that, like a live auction, the bidding continues until there's a winner. But every property that you see auctioned off on Civic Source will be guaranteed title insurance because someone placed that deposit and we did all that work prior to sale. And so by the time you come in on the first Wednesday of every month and win your auction, you will have a property that's guaranteed title insurance. And the reason that we can guarantee title insurance is because the notice that we sent allows us to cancel all the back taxes. It allows us to cancel all the mortgages and liens. It allows us to cancel all the previous ownership interest. Everyone's had their right to come back and purchase the property. And by law, because they got 60 days to do that, we are then able to sell you the property. So all the properties that you'll be purchasing off civicsource.com and closing will actually already be guaranteed title insurance and won't have any kind of back taxes. There won't be any kind of owners that have to come back on it, because all that's either taken care of and wiped away, and if the worst case scenario happens, you have title insurance on it and you are covered for that. So our closing process from purchase to close takes about a month. And that is we'll send our attorney here, or y'all can come into our office on Gravier Street in the old Chevron building in downtown New Orleans. We'll have a closing just like any real estate transaction, but it will be the quickest closing you've ever experienced because it's a cash sale, and we only have 3 documents to sign. We'll take it to the parish president, have the parish president sign it, and then we'll record it. When we record the property, you are now the owner. It's just like any other sale. You don't actually own the property until the deed gets recorded. But from that moment forward, you're the owner. You can now walk onto the property. You can do what you want with it. And you also will be being sent a title insurance policy that allows you to take your property to a bank and get a mortgage on it. Because the real challenge with these properties, and the reason that St. Bernard signed up to do this and has had us sell 300 of their properties, is because they did not want to sell properties without title insurance, because properties without title insurance will never be developed. But when we sell these properties and we sell them with title insurance and those costs are included in our purchase price, what you get is a property that you can actually take to a bank, get a loan on, and build a house on. And we're all pretty familiar with what the lots are here in St. Bernard. It's a lot of houses that people had, they lost during the hurricane, and then they never came back to, and they let go back up for taxes. This is how you clear these lots. You do the work right on the front end, and you allow people to get title insurance, because then they can come back and build a house on it and develop these lots in any way they see fit. So I'm going to pass it over to Madeline and let her show you how our website works.
Great. All right. Thanks, Bo. So right now what you see on the screen is the home page of civicsource.com, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how to search for all the properties, how to use the filters. Before then, though, by a show of hands, how many folks have already been on the website? All right. And how many folks have registered for an account? All right. Well, we'll have computers, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. But here on the home page, and I'll show you in the live demo, at the very top, what you see there, you can click where it says Initiate Auction, and that will populate the entire list that we have on the site, okay, of everywhere that we're working in, all the parishes. I'll show you exactly how to get straight to St. Bernard Parish. Those are some rolling banners just showing you some of the areas. I'll show you where we have the most properties listed. Like Bo mentioned, there's over 260 properties available just right here in St. Bernard Parish, so plenty for you to take a look at. Now, what we're talking about tonight is these adjudicated properties, so you're going to be searching for that little red icon that you see there in the middle. It says adjudicated property and tax deed, all right? So that icon, that's going to be consistent throughout the site, whether you're searching for properties in a list view or in a map view, because there's going to be 2 ways to search, and I'll show you how to do that. Now, before I get into the actual searches, take a look at that little magnifying glass at the top right-hand corner of the screen. I know that's a little small for you to see, but that magnifying glass, when you click on it, you're able to search for properties by their address. Even, let's say, if you've seen those civicsource.com for sale on the website signs out in those lots, right? How many of you have seen those signs out around the neighborhood? Those signs are going to have an auction ID number, okay? So the auction ID number is just a simple number with an abbreviation. It's in St. Bernard Parish. It'll start off STG, and it's going to say a series of some letters, right, and some numbers. That's just an easy identifier for you to be able to search for the properties on the website, okay? So you can search by that number if you see that on the sign as well. But I'm going to show you in the list view in just a moment. A lot of properties may not have a municipal address, all right? They may not have an address that we can confirm. Maybe the assessor, right, hasn't been keeping up with the records in so long because 911 or the post office, right, has not been out to that property. So a lot of times the address may fall off, so I'll show you what that looks like. A lot of properties may be listed saying no address or just a part of an address, but every single property is going to have its property details page where all this information lives, the GIS parcel outline, and we'll show you exactly how to get to that. Now, next we have signing up for an account, right? So if you're going to be able to bid, you're going to have an account, right? You're going to have to make sure that you've set this up, and this allows you to participate in all of our auctions. So if you're interested in those tax sales that Bo was mentioning, those happen once a year. We're going to do information sessions for those. You can do that. Even any other auctions that we're holding outside of the state of Louisiana, because we have a couple in nearby states as well. You'll have to make sure that you have this account set up, all right? So well before that auction day, make sure that you're set up. And registration is going to be a quick 3-step process where we're going to ask for your email, right, a password. Then the next step is going to be your personal information. Go ahead and pop that in there, even the name that you're going to want to put on the certificate or on that deed, all right? So what that means is you can take property by yourself, with or without a spouse. You can put it in a trust, in an LLC. Maybe you haven't even started an LLC, but you'd like to. You're going to have time to do that. Our closing attorney is going to give you a call when we're ready to schedule your closing here locally, and they're going to confirm all that information. So let's say if you went ahead and you won a property at auction, you thought, I would rather put it in my daughter's name. You can do that however you'd like, and we'll point you in the right direction. If you need any assistance in setting up any entity, we'll show you exactly where to go for that. And you can always change your information, by the way, in your settings. I'll show you how to do that in your account. You'll be able to change that directly. Now, the last step would just be to agree to the terms, agree that you'll be receiving occasional email updates. I'd encourage you to click that, because Civic Source is going to be sending you updates via our e-newsletter, and we're always going to be sending you all the new properties that we're adding to the site, including other auction updates. Because what you see on the site, we have a little less than 9,000 properties across the site currently available, but there's always new adjudicated properties that are going to be added. So that's the first way that you're going to know, is through that e-newsletter, getting those email updates. Now next, right here I'm showing a bank account. What this is that you're going to have to go ahead and register a bank account before you're able to bid in the auctions. And this is similar to an in-person auction, right, where you would be asked to bring certified funds. So same thing here, online, we want to make sure that you have a funding source. We're not checking the contents of that account. You don't even have to use that account to actually submit your payment, although if you want to, I'll show you exactly how to do that via your shopping cart. But just to make sure that you have an account that's registered, even if it's not the one you want to use, it could have $1 in it. We just want to make sure that you have a funding source, right? That there's a person, right, with a bank account associated behind the computer. So it'll be as simple as you just clicking to add a bank account. I'll show you how to do that when we get into our live demo. And you could add multiple accounts as well. Now, you're also going to be able to submit payment following the conclusion of an auction by direct wire transfer as well. We have a call center that can give you those instructions, so you can actually just take it to your bank, initiate that wire transfer. You can also pay via certified funds. So if you have a certified check and you'd like to pay that way, you can do that as well, right? Now, all of the transactions are going to be free and secure. It's going to be ACH transactions, so no worries there in submitting your payment. Now, next, right here, what you see is the list view. We're going to get into searching for all of the properties. And I want to take you back to our homepage to show you exactly how you would get there. If you click on Initiate Auction right there on that banner, or if you click on where it says View underneath that little red icon, that's what's going to populate this list view. And I know it's a little small for y'all to see from over in your seats, but we're going to have some filters along the left-hand side of the screen, and that's what you're going to use to filter down your search results, because there's so many properties out there, right? You're going to be able to actually narrow down. If you click on Louisiana, it'll populate a full list of all of the parishes in which we have adjudicated properties, and then if we're working with a city or a town within that parish, that'll be listed underneath that parish, all right? Now, you're also going to be able to use filters like properties that are available for deposit versus those that aren't. So remember, like Bo mentioned, it only takes one deposit to take a property into an auction, all right? So let's say you only want to look at the properties where someone has already done that, right? Someone already went ahead and placed a deposit. You just want to see, you want to take a look at what those properties are so that you're ready in that due time to be able to bid on those properties. You can do that versus those that no one has placed a deposit on. You can do that as well. We also even have a status filter. Let's say during the auction, and I'm going to go over our sliding close, the auction is going to take place from 8 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, subject to that sliding close, and you only want to see the properties that are rolling past 8 o'clock. you can do that with that status filter. You could even click on pass, all right, to see the properties that have already sold. And now open would be those properties that are currently going up in the auction, right? And then, of course, past 8 o'clock, you can see the ones that are still up on the site. You can also narrow down properties that have been added new in the last 30 days as well. So you can use that filter. And then you can also narrow down by the date. So you can actually click on the date and say, I only want to see the properties that are scheduled in the November auction. You can do that as well. But every single property is going to be listed here individually. You'll see here some examples of some of the ones that don't have any addresses. Most of the time, those are going to be vacant plots of land, right? But they do exist. They exist somewhere. I'll show you exactly how to search for them up on the website on the map view. You're going to be able to zoom in and out. There's going to be a parcel outline showing you the dimensions to that property. But most of the time, it's vacant plots of land. Now, there's also going to be properties that have homes on them, right? Or maybe they have a mobile home. There's even going to be properties that are going to be zoned commercial. And while we don't have the zoning information on the property details page that I'm about to show you, just make sure, right, that whatever it is that your plans are, go ahead and check with the parish, check on zoning. Believe you can find that easily online. Just pop in that address and make sure that wherever it is that you're buying property, right, is zoned according to where and exactly what it is that you want to do with the property. Now, when you're signed into your account, you're going to be able to download all of your search results into a spreadsheet. So for those of you that like to play around with Excel, you want to organize yourself that way, you can do that with a tab right at the top of your screen. You can also then click on map view, and we'll get into that in just a second, to search from a bird's eye view. But I know it's a little small, but you can see little stars when you're signed in and a little notepad. And what that is that little star is a way for you to add a property to what we call a watch list, like a favorites list, okay? So the way that you would do that is you click on that little star, and you can create multiple lists to organize all the properties that you're interested in, okay? So if you click on that, you're going to get an email notification when somebody places a deposit on that property, and also a reminder email letting you know when it's coming up for auction. So I highly encourage that you use that feature. That way you can keep yourself organized. And I'll show you, there's going to be a way for you to bid directly from your watch list page. So in an effort to not have you have multiple tabs open, right, during the auction, if you're bidding on more than one property, you can bid directly from that page, and I'll show you that. And you can also add notes that are viewable only by you. So that's a good place for you to put in how much you're willing to spend, right, or any other notes. Maybe a note about that you'd like to do a little bit more research on the property, whatever the case may be. So make sure to use these features because it's really helpful, right? That way you don't have to have all of your paperwork scattered about, and use this as your personal portal to keep yourself organized, all those properties that you're interested in. Now, when you click on your watch list to edit it, you can edit it actually from the top of your account, and I'll show you that in our live demo. Or you can click on Edit Watch List. I'll go right back. Click on Edit Watch List, and this is where you'll be able to organize all of your watch lists. Here's where you can move properties from one list to the other, and here is where you're going to be able to also bid directly from this page on auction day. Now, map view. We're going to get into the map view. And I'm going to take you back to show you exactly how to get to that. Click on that little tab when you're in the list view where it says map view, and it's going to show you the properties this way through Google Maps. And Google Maps, remember that on the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to be able to click between map and satellite, right, on Google Maps. So be aware of that. What you see here on your screen, right, see those little red dots? A single red dot indicates a single property, okay? And when you click on that, that would take you to that properties page just as you would in that list view. You also see those little blue clusters, right? And they simply have a number in them, just the number of properties that are in that cluster area. So if you click on there, you're going to be able to zoom further in. I'll show you how it looks like in a satellite view. And then let's say you're going to be zooming in to those little blue clusters and back to map view. You're going to start seeing the parcel outlines to those properties. This is how that looks like. So notice you'll see entire blocks that may have properties right next door to each other. Maybe a developer ran out of funds, right? Or whatever the case may be, you'll see this all the time. But this is really going to be an easy way for you to zoom in and out, right? down to that street level. You can use the little yellow person from Google Maps to get down to the street level and see exactly where these properties are located. Now, when you click on a property, it's going to take you to the property's details page. And this is where all the information that we have gathered from the assessor, that's all going to be right here on this page. There's going to be a timeline across the top of your screen that tells you exactly where we are in the research phase. Like this property, for example, no one has placed a deposit on it. So in the timeline, that's exactly where it is. It says deposit not placed. If someone had placed a deposit on it, then you would see when's that date that the property is scheduled to go to auction, right? You could add it to your watch list from there. But this property here, you see, there's that parcel outline, that GIS parcel outline. We even have the legal description to that property. The tax bill number is going to be up there. Most importantly, the minimum starting bid price. And I'll show you when I get into the live view a cost breakdown of exactly how it is that we arrive at that number. So those are just the legal costs, and the closing costs are already included that it takes for us to do all of the research, right? Everything that Bo was explaining earlier when we're clearing the title and issuing that insurance. Now, I'll point also out to the adjudication certificate. So if you want to take a look at that document, you can click on there and download it. And I'll also show you all of the research that Civic Source is going to be doing, all of that mail that's going to be going out to those interested parties. We're going to post it directly on the property details page. So you're going to be able to follow along as we're doing the research. So in real time, when Bo's going through and he's sending out some letters, he's doing his title opinion, right? He's going to be posting it, and it's going to go directly on that property details page where you can download that into a PDF document and you can save that for your own records. Now, it's important for you to know that that GIS parcel outline, remember we're working with outdated records many times, and so sometimes that can change, and that's an example of an issue that can come up during research where maybe what you originally saw is actually half of a lot, or maybe it's actually double. Maybe that legal description was wrong, right? Maybe someone didn't record an update or survey to the property. Whatever the case may be, if you're the depositor, we're going to give you a call and we're going to make you aware of that. And of course, we'll ask you if you want to move forward with the property or if you'd like your deposit back, okay? Now, there's always a little button right at the top where it says place $850 deposit to initiate auction. In many parishes that participate in this, including St. Bernard Parish, it'll be a little button that says, are you an adjoining landowner? So this is important for you to know because if you're directly right next door to an adjudicated property, that means that your current property's boundaries are physically touching that property, not across the street, but physically touching. There's something called adjoining landowner, where if you've been maintaining that property for at least 1 year, okay, you're going to be able to sign an affidavit saying that here's where my property is, here's where this adjudicated property is. You'll notarize it, some witness signatures, you send it in to us. You'll be able to place your deposit as well, and then you won't have to go to public auction. So we're going to go through and do the same research, the same process that we just spoke about. The difference is you won't have to bid against anyone else at auction. Now, I'll make you aware that every now and then, maybe your neighbor finds out, right? Maybe they saw a sign out in the yard. If they do contact us directly and say that they'd like an opportunity to bid, our recommendation is that y'all go ahead and bid against each other, right? That's only fair. So every now and then that may happen, but adjoining landowner sales, they abound by many. There's going to be a lot of those types of sales where, imagine, if the starting bid price is $5,625, let's say on this property, you had already placed a deposit, but you're not bidding against anyone. So most adjoining landowner sales are going to be less than $5,000. And I'll show you some examples of some properties that have already sold in that way here in St. Bernard Parish. Now next, let's say you want to place that deposit, all right? You would click on that button, place $850 deposit right there. It brings up this little window here where you choose your bank account if you want to pay that way. If you'd rather do a direct wire transfer, just give our call center a call and they can do that for you. You would click that the starting price is subject to change. So that's just referring to what Bo was mentioning earlier, where maybe sometimes we'll find that there's a lot more mail that has to go out on that property, or a lot more liens and mortgages that we have to cancel off, right? In the event that that cost is about $500 or more, we're definitely going to give you a call and let you know. We'll say maybe there's 180 pieces of mail that have to go out, and this is how much that minimum starting bid price is expected to increase. Would you like to move forward? So that's what we're showing there when we say the starting price is subject to increase. Now, next I'm going to talk about our sliding close. So remember that the auctions are going to be taking place the first Wednesday of every month from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. subject to this sliding close. So unlike eBay, where someone can place a bid in the last 15 seconds and you've been bidding all day or sometimes for multiple days, right, waiting for this auction to end, someone could come in and do what's known as sniping in the internet world, where they just won it out from under you, right, because they came in and they bid last second. In an effort for that not to happen, and also in an effort to replicate an in-person auction as much as possible, we have this called sliding close, okay? So what that means is that if indeed someone goes to place a bid in the last few seconds of the auction, we're going to continue extending the auction by a window of 3 minutes until we have a window of 3 minutes where there are no bids. So that'll continue happening. We're going to continue adding minutes to the clock. Everything's going to be updating in real time, so you'll see what that new end time is. And I'll show you, you're going to see auction updates right across the top of your screen letting you know. We'll do the whole going once, going twice, and sold. You'll know exactly where we are in the auction. But this is designed in order for it to be fair and competitive for everyone. I can tell you that most of the properties are going to be closing around 9:30 or so, right? And this only extends the auction for those properties that have gone into overtime. Every now and then, we get some really late night bidding. The latest that we've ever seen was around 2:30 in the morning. So they were really wanting that property, those folks, but we're going to continue doing that until we've determined a winner. Now, next we have a feature called Proxy bidding, and we have some cute little videos as well on our help page and also on our YouTube page, about 1.5 minutes that explain these features. But really what this is here, right here, this proxy bidding is, of course, that auction is going to be taking place all day, right? We don't expect you to be sitting at your computer all day monitoring the auction and placing in your bids. So proxy bidding is designed so that you can actually tell the computer what's the maximum that you're willing to spend on a property, and the computer is going to bid up for you, always at the smallest increments possible to keep you the winner, okay? So let's say that it does reach your maximum, obviously never exceeding that maximum. You're going to get an email notification letting you know that someone has outbid you. That way, if you're away from your computer, you get to come back, increase your bid if you'd like, but that way you'll be notified. So I highly encourage that you use this, especially if you're not going to be right near your computer. A lot of investors will just sign in at 8 o'clock, they place that proxy bid, they walk away, maybe they're monitoring it a couple of times, but that proxy bidding feature is really going to save you some time and allow you a little bit more freedom during the day so you're not restricted to just sit at your computer. But you don't have to necessarily use this. You can also go ahead and place in your bids manually, and I'll show you in the bidding history, there's going to be a way for you to see how many people are bidding against you and if folks are using this feature. So I'll show you exactly how to find that. So during the auction, you'll always be able to tell. Now, the increments for proxy bidding and for all the manual bidding as well is between $1,000 and $10,000, $10 increments, and anything over $10,000 is $100 increments. Less than $1,000, that's only going to apply for those tax sales. Those are dollar increments. So just remember that, $10 and $100. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that a property starts at $5,000, all right, and you went ahead and you placed in a proxy bid of $10,000. The computer is not going to bid $10,000. Rather, it's going to bid $5,000 and $10, right, the next one up. And then let's say if Bo goes ahead and places a bid at $5,040, then the computer will bid on your behalf at $5,050, and so on and so forth, okay? Now, next we're going to get into exactly how it's going to look like on auction day. So here we are the first Wednesday of the month. You're signed in, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, because before then you won't be able to place any of your bids. You won't even see this look this way. But when it's 8 o'clock in the morning, you're going to see these white boxes pop up in 3 different places. So we'll start with the list view. So in the list view, you'll see these boxes, and next to the properties, you would enter in what your bid amount is right there in that box. When you click on place bid, that's where you'll see this bidding confirmation window. This is really important because this is what seals your bid. You can't retract your bids, right? And when you're bidding on a property, you're saying that is exactly what you're willing to pay, right? In the event that you win the property. So please make sure that that's the amount, right, that you definitely want to bid. I can tell you we definitely have had examples where folks are maybe going ahead and putting in an extra zero, right? In the event that that ever happens, please make sure to give us a call immediately, because remember, you're not the only one bidding on the properties. There's other folks out there, and that would be changing the auction for them. But please let us know. But that's why this window exists, right? Make sure that that number's correct, and go ahead and then just click place bid if you're comfortable with that. Now, next, you're going to be able to bid from your watch list page. So if you are keeping yourself organized on that watch list, maybe you want to bid on 3, 4, however many properties, you won't have to be on each property's page. Rather, you're going to be able to bid directly from your watch list view. So here's just another place for you to be able to bid. And then last, you can also bid from that property details page. So you can camp out here all day. If you're only bidding on one property, you'll bid directly from this page. Now, right here, I want to point you, this property's going for $14,600. Right underneath there, always next to that price, you're going to be able to see numbers of the people, how many people are bidding on the property and how many bids. So it says there's 5 people bidding on this particular property and 116 bids. That's where you would click to look at the bidding history on the property. But before that, I want to point you to this banner across the top of your screen, because this is an example of a banner you're going to get in the event that we've gone into a sliding close. It'll say bidding has been extended due to a bid placed in the last few minutes of the auction. So you'll automatically know whether you're on this page, the list view, or on your watch list page, you know if we've gone into that sliding close. And then we're going to update right on that property details page the new closing time. That's going to be flashing right before your eyes, so you don't have to refresh your page. Everything is going to be automatic. Now, here's that bidding history. Remember, to get to that bidding history, you're going to click where it says however many people are bidding. Now, of course, maybe you're the only one bidding on the property, and I'll tell you that happens all the time, where you're the only person that's gone ahead and bid on it. Of course, you just get it for just the cost. I can't tell you how many times that happens regularly and often, because of course it's an auction. You never know who's interested in it, right? If you click right there, that's where you'll see the bidding history. There's a summary tab that groups in all of the bids, and then there's a details tab. The details tab is going to show you down to the millisecond every single bid that's placed on the property. So take, for example, here under bidder, everyone has a unique 3-digit number that's assigned to them, so it's all completely anonymous. We're never going to share your information with anyone who's bidding on these auctions at all, but instead, everyone has a user number. So if you see user 328 and they're bidding on 5, 6 different properties across the site, you know that's the same person, right? So when you're logged in, it'll say you, and then you see all of these bidders here, and then you're going to see everything time-stamped in history down to the millisecond. And I want to point you to this little paddle symbol. If you hover over it, it'll say this is a bid placed by the user. Bids without this icon are proxy bids. So think of an in-person auction. You would be assigned a little paddle, and you raise it up with your number. You shout out your number. If you see that paddle, that means that someone's physically behind their computer entering in their bid. That's what that means. So make sure to hover over that where it says it's placed by the user. If you don't see that paddle, that was a proxy bid. So someone has set a proxy bid, the computer is bidding for them. So it's important for you to know that if maybe you're entering in a bid, the computer keeps saying your bid's rejected, bid higher, your bid's rejected, you're probably up against someone's higher proxy bid. And of course, you won't know what that is. Only you will know what your own high proxy bid is, right? What that is. So make sure to check on that bidding history so you can see exactly what's going on. Now, we'll do the going once, going twice. So you'll always see these updates up across the top of your screen. This can go back and forth, right, if there's some competitive bidding. Sold in red if you didn't win the auction, and sold in green if you did win the auction. And if you did win the auction, you'll have 24 hours to submit your payment. Now, important for you to know that while you can submit it right online, and while, yes, that is a limited amount of time, We just need to know if you're experiencing any delays at all to get those funds. We understand maybe you overspent a little, maybe you have to move some funds around, or you decided that you were going to be using other funds, right? A lot of our investors are maybe using money from other investors. Whatever the case may be, we just need to know within that 24-hour period, and we're going to be reaching out to you as well. We'll need to know that so that then we can make some accommodations for you. Because in the event that we don't hear from you, we would be going to that runner-up bidder and offering them the property at whatever their highest bid was, but we'll go in and we'll cancel out what your bids were that would have ran up their price. And that happens every now and then. So in that case, we'll give you a call. We'll offer you the property. You're not required to purchase it, but you will have an opportunity to do so if you're that runner-up. So here in checkout, in your shopping carts where you'll be able to select the bank account, if that's the account that you'd like to use, the one you registered, and that's where you'll see the properties listed or the one property, you would agree to the terms and click Submit Payment. That's one way for you to submit payment. You can also give our call center a call, and they'll give you direct wire transfer instructions. That way you can take it to your bank, right? Give them the instructions. You can do a wire that way. Or you can pay via certified funds. So you can just bring by one of those certified checks with your funds, okay? So 3 different ways for you to submit your payment. I want to point out, though, this first property, I know it's a little small for you to see, this first property, it exceeded $12,000 at auction. And what that means is that we can only calculate that title insurance, right, up to a certain amount because we don't know what that property is going to sell for at auction, okay, that title insurance coverage. So in the event that your bid exceeds $12,000, we're going to do a small calculation for the increase in the premium to that title insurance. So this example up here, this property sold for $18,500, and the additional amount was $37.80, okay? So just know that that calculation, that's going to be dependent on what the price of the property is, and then Bo's going to take you through in just a moment about U.S. National Title Insurance and how to go about increasing that coverage when you go to actually develop the property or sell it to someone else. Now, property bundling, this is really exciting. We save the best for last. Property bundling is a program where, let's say you're interested in purchasing more than one property at auction, all right? You want to purchase maybe 10 properties. It's actually a minimum of 5 that will get you started with bundling, but what this ensures is that you're going to be able to purchase all of these properties together because we're going to group them up together for you in a bundle at auction. So what that means is that if another investor is interested in the property, they're bidding on your whole group, okay? And the minimum starting bid price of your bundle is going to be the total of all of the properties in there. So let's say, for example's sake, you have 10 properties in a bundle. Each one is $5,000. The minimum starting bid price is $50,000. Someone would have to bid that, right? Bid higher than that in order to be in direct competition with you at auction. And the way that you get started is you would send us your list. It's 5 properties, all right? Sold as a single property, that's what we're talking about. You send us your list. Now, I always encourage folks to start off with whatever that higher number is because the chances are is that maybe your bundle will be coming down to half of that because maybe the property can get redeemed, right? Maybe there's an issue that can come up. If it does fall below the 5 properties, we're still going to take it to auction as a bundle. So you can end up with a bundle of 3 properties. We'll still go ahead and move it forward. Bundling is going to be restricted to just one particular area, right? So you can't do one property in St. Bernard, one property in St. Charles, and one in New Orleans. They all have to be from the same area. However, you can create multiple bundles, okay? And what you would do is you submit your list. An account manager is going to go through and verify if we can go ahead and take it to auction as a bundle. Some of the parishes are going to say, well, we want it up on the site listed individually for 3 months, maybe 6 months. Obviously, we want to afford folks an opportunity to purchase the properties individually before they're able to bundle them. So we'll go ahead and we'll verify those properties, and then we'll instruct you to place the $850 deposit on each one of the properties. And the same refund is going to apply, that same refund rules where if the property is redeemed, right, you're going to get that $850 back. If you win it at auction, it's all going to go towards your purchase price, including if you lose, right? You're going to get that $850 deposit back on each one of the properties. And then we also have some volume pricing discounts that we've built in. So we would be giving you a nice little check at closing. So it's not going to go towards your purchase price, but rather at closing as an incentive where you can save anywhere from $150 to up to $300 per property, depending on how many properties you have in that bundle. So if you'd like to get started with that, all you have to do is just email your list to bundling@civicsource.com, or you can email me. Make sure to grab my business card over at the table, and we can go ahead and get started on that. Now, next I'm going to hand it over to Bo to explain some more about your title insurance policy, and then we're going to go ahead and take some of your questions, and I'll show you some of the properties we currently have listed on the site.
All right, so like I said earlier, one of the big things that we're doing with these properties is we're selling with title insurance. And title insurance has traditionally been excluded on tax sale properties because the standard title insurance policy specifically excludes tax sales in its language. So in order to write insurance on these properties, we've had to work with companies. We've worked with, currently we're working with U.S. National Title Insurance Company, also WFG National Insurance Company. They are companies who are capable of writing what we call our tax sale endorsement. That's how we increase coverage to you all on tax sales. And it's included in your purchase price, but it's something to be aware of because maybe the title agent who you go to down the street may not currently be signed up with U.S. National. And it may be really beneficial to you when they say, hey, you need to get quit claims. You could say, no, Bo told me I didn't need to get quit claims. He actually told me instead to have you call U.S. National and write the insurance through them. And so that's really all it takes because you have to write this endorsement. We always tell people to go to U.S. National because you'll be getting a reissue rate and the insurance will be significantly cheaper rather than going to another title company who has to write a whole new policy on it. So it's just something to be aware of, to look on their website before you either try and relist or when you're increasing coverage on your policy to see which agents you should go to around New Orleans and direct your transactions to those agents who can write this insurance, or have the agent that you usually go to call the company to write it.
All right. Well, next, and actually before I go ahead and start taking some of your questions, I just want to pop really quickly onto the site, show you a quick view of all the properties we have listed. I'll show you, I'm signed into my account right now, so this is what it'll look like when you're signed in. Your name will be in the top right-hand corner here. And when you click on your name, there's a drop-down menu where you can see all of the bids that you place on the properties. All of your deposits will be organized there. Your watch list, where you get to organize all the properties you're looking at. Purchases, right here in checkout. There's nothing in my shopping cart, but that's where you'll see the properties in there following an auction. Here in settings, that's where you can change your personal information. Bank accounts, I'll show you what this looks like when you click on bank accounts. Give me one moment here for this to load. All right, here on bank account, you can name your account whatever you'd like, a nickname, and just the basic information of that routing number and that account number. And also you can change your password here, or help and support. That's where you'll find the quick little videos showing you some of the features like the sliding close and the proxy bidding that I showed you earlier. So I want to take you back to the home page here. I'll show you, if you scroll down, there's an auction calendar, and this is helpful if you only want to see the number of properties in a particular area just at a quick glance. You can see here there's one property in the city of Bogalusa coming up in the October 3rd auction next week, right? You can scroll down, it'll narrow it down. There's two properties right here in St. Bernard that are coming up October 3rd. And remember, you can simply create an account and you can bid against those folks, right? So if you're interested in placing a deposit on a property to bring it into an auction, you can do that, as well as just participate in the monthly auctions. Now I'm going to click right here on View, Adjudicated Property and Tax Deed, and this is what's populating that full list. And I'm going to be using the filters along the left-hand side of my screen to narrow down. I'm going to click on Location, Louisiana, and I'm going to go down and click on St. Bernard Parish. So I see here, showing me a list of the 261 properties. If I go down to the filter that says deposit status, let's say I only want to look at the properties that are not available for deposit. Someone's already placed that deposit on them. It's going to show me. It's going to show properties that have either sold. So down here at the bottom are two properties that sold in this month's auction, but at the very top, properties that are scheduled in future auctions. Now let's say you want to look at properties that are available for deposit. You can narrow it down that way. And if you click on map view, that's where you'll be able to start searching via the map. But before that, I'll show you how to add a property to a watch list. Let's say this one here on Phillip Court. I'm going to click right here. I already created a St. Bernard list, so I'm going to go down, click on St. Bernard here, and that's it, and it added it. If I want to make a quick note here, I'll say, I like this one. Save my note. And then if I wanted to edit my watch list, I can click, let's say on a star, click on Edit Watch List, or right here in my drop-down menu, click on Watch List, and it'll show me the properties that I've placed in there. So here's that one on Phillip, and a combination of other properties that I've placed in there in the past. Now I'll take it back to the list view to show you the map view, what that looks like. Click on that tab right at the top. And this is where you'll be able to start zooming in and out. So you see those clusters there, the number in that cluster, that blue cluster is the number of properties in that area. I'm going to click on satellite right here. And the more you start zooming in, let's say I want to click on this cluster of 43 properties right here. Start seeing those red dots, see an individual property. Let's say I want to zoom further in. And then I start seeing those parcel outlines. And remember, you can toggle between satellite and then map here. So you can see exactly where those properties are. Let's say if I wanted to see this one here off of Coluda, 2124 Edgar Drive here, I'm going to put it down. And here I can see with that little yellow person down Google Maps. Now remember that Google Maps does not update quickly enough, right? So what that means is you should definitely go out to the property, take a look at it, right? You'll know your area better than we do. Go ahead and take a look. Make sure that's exactly what it is that you'd like to buy. But keep in mind, that delinquent taxpayer, they still own the property. So what that means is you'd be trespassing if you're going onto the property, all right? So just be careful with that. Take a look around. There is going to be a legal description to that property on the property details page. And if you have any questions on that, let us know. But just keep that in mind. Let's click on this property right here. I want to go to the property details page. So here I am on the page. I'll click on satellite. Here's that GIS parcel outline we saw. All the St. Bernard properties start with SMO and then a 4-digit number. I see all the information that we've gathered from the assessor here. No one's placed a deposit, so that's why you see place $850 deposit. If you scroll down, you can click and see the adjudication certificate to that property. It's been adjudicated since 2002. So you can scroll down and see that document, save it for your records. If you scroll further down, every single property will have a cost breakdown where we're breaking down how it is that we arrive to that minimum starting bid price, okay? And then if we have any information on previous taxes or assessments, we'll make that available to you, including the most updated photo of the property. So Civic Source will send someone out to take a photo of the property, and you'll even see, as I'm sure you've seen out in the community, those for sale signs as well. Now, we also do what's known as an occupancy report. Every now and then there may be folks living in a structure on the property, right? Whether that's a mobile home, a house, maybe we know that there's utilities hooked up. We want to let you know, but more importantly, we need to notify those folks, right, that are living in that home. And that's only fair. So what we're going to do is we're going to send them mail, and we're also going to post that notice that the property's coming up for auction onto their door, and we'll take a photo of it and we'll put it on the property details page. So if you see that attached document and it's going to be noted in the occupancy report, you'll know that we've gone ahead and we've notified those folks. A lot of times it may be the delinquent taxpayer, maybe family members of the delinquent taxpayer, maybe it's a tenant, right, that doesn't know that their landlord is not paying the property taxes. Important that you know that, of course, once you buy the property, it's going to be your responsibility to approach them and say, here's the deed to the property, I'm the new owner, right? And then hopefully they'll leave peacefully. If not, you could go through a formal eviction suit. And then since no one has placed a deposit on this property, that's why you don't see many of the documents already populated. So I want to show you an example in my watch list of some properties that have already sold, just so you can see the difference and see some history of what some properties have sold for here in St. Bernard. Now I'm going to scroll down. Let's see this one here, 1723 Deborah Drive here. So this property sold in the April 4th auction, and it sold for $6,010. There were 2 bidders and 5 bids. So if you click right here, we're going to take a look at the history. And there it is. You see here user 617 and 503. So the minimum starting bid price on the property, $5,452, right? But you see here that's a proxy bid. So you're hovering over there, and you can see that all down to the millisecond. If you scroll down, you see that cost breakdown, right? Civic Source will also place a constructive notice sign, so this is just another effort for us to go out and notify those folks that may be living on the property or anyone in the area that the property's coming up for auction. And then when you scroll down, you'll see all of the research associated with it. So every single piece of first-class mail, certified mail, including the attorney title opinion, you can download that in a PDF document. So let's take a look at this one that went out to the heirs and estate of Gene Jackson. I'm going to click right here. I'll open it up. And here's the example of that notice. This is exactly what they got in the mail, that the property was coming up for auction and with instructions on how to go ahead and redeem the property if they're interested in coming back and paying all of the liens and back taxes on the properties. So you'll see this in real time while the attorneys are doing all of their research and posting it up to that property details page. Now at this point I want us to take your questions, and since we're being recorded tonight so that this presentation airs on the public access channel here in St. Bernard, I'm just going to make sure to repeat your question. That way we can hear it for those folks viewing it later. So anyone have any questions at this moment? No? Sure there's one? Yeah. That's correct. So the question is, right, if you go ahead and you place a deposit on a property and you're outbid at auction, right, are you going to get that deposit back if somebody outbids you, and what is it that they're finally paying, right? Well, you have to make sure as a depositor to sign into your account day of the auction and place at least one bid. So what that means is that deposit doesn't mean that day of the auction there's going to be a ghost bid on your behalf, right? You have to physically come in and place a bid in order for you to get that $850 deposit back if you do not win, right? But let's say someone bids against you, right, and they win it at, let's say, $6,000. The deposit doesn't apply for them because they didn't place a deposit, so they're just paying the full price. They're paying $6,000. You'll be refunded the $850. Let's say if you win, it's $6,000, right? That $850 will go towards your purchase price. But important, if you and no one else bids at auction, you will not get that deposit back. So please make sure you're going to be getting those notifications to your email. You'll know exactly when the auction date is. Just place at least one bid so that you can get that deposit back if you don't win.
But to clarify, if you place a deposit, didn't bid at auction, and I bid the minimum bid price, you also would get your deposit back. Well, the reason, so you're asking why do we give the deposit back to the original person?
No, if I pay $850, you're saying you're breaking it down for what it's being used for, to research the property, to tell me if there are any liens and all that. I get that part if I do it. But let's say you have that information on the property, and I don't take the property, I don't get it, or I don't bid on it, or whatever the case may be, and I get my $850 back. The next person that comes around to put another bid on that same property, I'm saying you're gonna charge them another $850 and you already have the information?
No, we're not going to charge. That $850 is automatically counted into the minimum bid price. So since you place a deposit, you do not have to pay for that $850. But if anyone else does, they pay that $850 in their purchase price, and you get your money back.
Okay, so each person has to pay $850.
At some point, whoever buys the property is going to pay for the research.
So remember, one deposit, right, per property, right, only takes one. And why does that deposit exist, right? It's because we would love to clear the title and write insurance on all of these properties, right, and just offer it up at auction altogether. But remember, these properties already failed to sell at a previous sale, right? And that's why we need you to tell us which are the ones that we have to go ahead and do all of the research on to take it into auction. Is that helpful? That's what that $850 deposit on is going towards.
Right, okay, then that's fine, I'm understanding that part.
Mhm.
And the other question is, so you're sending this information out to these people that didn't pay the taxes on these properties anyways, and we don't know how many years it is that they've been sitting there that they didn't pay. But you're saying that you're still gonna give those people a right to come back and claim the property, and both, like before you even get a chance like us to buy it. So they still can come back in and go, oh, now I wanna pay it because I don't want you to sell it.
So the question is, right, why is it that we're affording folks, right, the delinquent taxpayer and everyone that's an interested party to the property an opportunity to pay for the taxes, to do what's called the redemption and all of that, and save the property from going to public auction before you're able to bid on it?
So the U.S. Supreme Court has said that when governments sell property, they have to give the people who previously owned the property due process of law. What we are doing is we are going through and making sure that every single person who previously, it's a foreclosure. I mean, that's the simple fact of what we're doing. So those people who didn't pay their taxes, and even though they've been delinquent and they have been, I guess, irresponsible property owners, by law, they still, because we have to match what the U.S. Supreme Court says the Constitution says, they still have to get one more opportunity to pay their taxes. And Louisiana has interpreted that opportunity as certified mail with a 60-day opportunity to come back and pay their taxes.
And to add to that, you should feel good about the fact that we're finding people, right? That people are actually coming back, that the process is working, where 30% of the time, folks are coming back and saying, wow, I didn't know that Grandma Jones had a property in Louisiana. She passed away. No one knew she had this property. Yeah, I want to make sure to save that property and keep it in my family. I once, for example, called an adjoining landowner to some properties in the middle of the forest in Parish, and it was owned by a lady that once upon a time, actually, in her family, they had that property. They had lost it at a tax sale. Someone else had purchased it. Well, she was the adjoining landowner, and I was calling her and letting her know that there were some parcels right next door to her property that she could purchase, right? It meant something to her. They used to have all that property in their family, right? And she wanted an opportunity to be able to acquire it. So it was important that, of course, we're reaching those folks wherever they may be, right? Maybe that person is deceased, the heirs are scattered all about. I can tell you we're sending mail, even international mail, wherever those folks may be, to give them one final chance.
Kind of follow up on that. Time being of the essence, and you say you give them 60 days to respond, and say you do get a hold of them, say day 30, and they go, oh yeah, well, we know that that's our property, and we have every intention on paying the taxes, and then you go, okay, well, in good faith, show me the money, and they don't. So, but you got a party over here that's still interested in buying. So what happens at the end of the 60 days if they don't put up the money to pay the taxes?
So what you're asking is if someone calls in, asks us about redeeming the property, and then fails to do so. At that point, what we've done is we've given them 60 days. We check with the government to make sure they haven't come up with any kind of payment plans or anything like that. And then we sell the property to you. And we know that because part of what they've done, we have a call center that takes all these phone calls. And typically what happens is that, particularly on vacant lots, is that they field phone calls saying, hey, what's the property? Hey, I own this property. What's going on with it? And we say, we're selling the property. You have to pay $6,000, $7,000 in taxes to redeem your property. And then people say, oh, well, I'm not interested. Thanks. And we get that on almost every single sale, and we get it multiple times a sale. It happens all the time. But when they say, hey, I want to pay it, we say, well, you have 60 days to pay it. And if the government has, at the end of that period, if the government says that you haven't negotiated a payment plan with them, we will be selling it to a new investor.
Right.
60 days is enough.
Yes.
Right, correct.
60 days, they can't extend it out
What-
30 and say, can I get another 60?
The only extension is that they actually have until we record the sale to redeem their taxes, because Louisiana has this weird rule where with property transactions like this, it's basically a race to the courthouse. And so that's why we try and record everything within a month. They could theoretically come back and redeem it up until the sale gets recorded if they get allowed to do that.
Now, if that happens, right, let's say you've gone ahead, you've won, you've paid that amount, whether that's $5,000, whether it's $50,000, and we hear of that, right, before we've gone ahead and recorded that deed, of course you're going to get your full purchase price back, right? Fully refundable. We'll make sure to give you that back. And what that means, too, is this. You won the property at auction, let's say today, and before the end of the month, we're going to make sure to close on it. Don't rush onto that property and start changing locks, right? You still don't own the property just outright. We have not recorded that deed. So very important for you to know that. Yes, you've submitted your payment. Yes, we're going to go ahead and close on the property and we'll record it. But not until you have that deed in your hands are you the owner to the property.
And by in your hands, we mean in your email,
Right.
recorded.
So, when, at the end of the 60-day period like that, when the deed is completed and the title search is done, there's no liens against it, then that deed becomes new ownership to the person who bought it, and those people don't have a recourse to come and try to sue you later, right, after the 60 days.
Right. So they don't have a recourse because their rights have been terminated through our noticing. If they claim, like any other previous owner in any transaction, could come back and say, hey, this was done incorrectly. Hey, my grandfather sold this didn't sell this property. There was fraud. It would be just like any other title insurance claim, and that's why the title insurance company steps in and takes care of it.
Just like on your current home now, right? I would hope you have a title insurance policy on there. Anyone can come back from the past and say, no, actually, I'm the owner. They're submitting a claim against your title company. That's why you have that insurance. Yes, sir. Do you have any other questions? No?
The amount of the bid, that includes your closing fees,
Yes.
exactly, unless there are additional.
Yeah. So the really great thing about these properties is that your final bid price, unless it goes up above for that title insurance, and that'll be put right into your checkout account, unless it goes above that $12,000 threshold, any property below $12,000, that's every single cost included in it. So like a $5,000 lot at Civic Source is actually $5,000 for you.
And I'll tell you, to add to that, most of the properties within a parish will be selling between maybe $7,000 to $9,000. We found that average across the state, and with those outliers, right, of New Orleans and other parishes like Baton Rouge, or maybe they could sell higher, was about $12,100 across the state. But generally, between $7,000 to $9,000 in the parish is what you'll expect to pay.
And so then the title insurance that you get is for the purchase price.
That's correct.
So then, if this is a vacant lot, and you build a house on that lot, and then you go to sell that property, then you have to go through national in order to sell it?
That is correct. So if you go through and then you extend it, what you will want to do is you will want to go to an agent who is underwritten by U.S. National. because title agent, a title insurance company. Yes, ma'am. So, there's like Title Stream is a big one that does U.S. national closings. They're all over New Orleans. Fleur-de-lis Title, Heritage Title. There's just a number of them off the top of my head. But so you want to go to one of those title companies who actually writes with U.S. National, because the title insurance has already been guaranteed, and a lot of companies like agents who are underwritten by First American or Stewart can't write these policies. Because they don't.
Situation where we had someone approach us to purchase a lot that we bought to adjudicate property. And nobody touched it, and the buyer generally mandates the title company not to sell it.
Well, the buyer generally does, but every time someone does most construction lots I've ever seen, generally for new properties, I've seen most of those have the seller's can mandate which title company it goes to. And we always suggest, if you're building on a property and you've already gotten this policy, to go ahead and do that and put it in the purchase agreement, because you don't want someone who doesn't understand what they're looking at to scare away a buyer because they can't write the insurance. Right.
Right.
And
And now, if you ever in kind of that situation, right, it's bound to happen, as it happened to you, give us a call, send that realtor, send that buyer, right? Send them to us, right?
Several times, but I couldn't get anybody to call back. John gave me some information on one lady who called
Well,
at an attorney's office who handled these types
we're
of
able to
things,
hand.
and I called her several times, never got a return call.
We'll take a look at that for you, definitely, and point you in the right direction. But you'll definitely be able to close. It's just a matter of getting out ahead in front of your buyers, right, and letting them know this is all of the locations where you can close, right? And then, of course, any questions, we'll be able to handle that and all those agents for you.
We weren't in, these were all done right after Katrina, so
Okay.
we're not in the computer.
Okay.
You know, were very helpful in getting all of the documentation on the notices, that went out. I think another fear that I had is that there was an SBA loan on that, and that could legally just be written off by the parish.
yes, ma'am. So what we're doing is, with these taxes, property taxes have the number one priority as like a lien. And so we're basically foreclosing for the property taxes. And so we're able to, by sending proper notice to every mortgage holder below it, they have a right to redeem the taxes or lose their interest in the property. Yes, ma'am. I know. We can cancel IRS liens. Well, we don't cancel them. We don't cancel them. We partially remove them insofar as the property is determined. So I could have 20 properties, and if we sold one of them, it would still be on 19 of my properties in my name, but that property would be pulled out of it.
Because I did hear a horror story as to a lot in Araby that was an adjudicated property, and someone billed $250,000 home on it, and the heirs came back and sued, and I haven't seen the case law, but we've heard that the judgment was made in favor of the heirs. So like, what does he get? His $12,000 back? What happens to the price of the house?
So that's why we have to sell these things with title insurance and do such expansive work, because I know we didn't do that one because I would have heard about it a million times. But that's why all this work gets done, and we write, and we have a tax sale endorsement, and we have all these things, because the case law judges will to side with the people who are making a claim for it. But even when you do win and you are able to nullify a sale, say I was coming back and nullifying a sale, we haven't had this happen yet, but if they did, they have to pay back all the back taxes, they have to pay back all your improvements and all your expenses on the property. Yes, and they have to pay back all of our costs as well. So all of that's included in the amount that they actually have to pay back to the purchaser. So that's a big reason why these things don't often, they get settled in a lot quicker and easier ways. We have a better claim rate with our title insurance company than pretty much anyone in the state, because we're able to do everything up front, and we have the full horse. We get to start with a brand new title, whereas every other title company actually has to start with everyone else's mistakes. So we're kind of lucky in that way, in that the law affords us the right to start with brand new title and actually do it properly.
Any questions? Yes?
How can you say you're starting with the new title if it's still subject to potential problems from the original title? How is that a new title then?
Well, by law, it says that it's a new title.
But it's subject to the prior title's owners still.
Well, every single property that is ever sold in Louisiana is subject to the previous owners saying something, or subject to someone coming back and saying something. But by law, through the noticing, their rights have been terminated and you are the owner of the property. We have mortgages on all these we have mortgages on properties all over this area. These properties are being put into Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac mortgages. They have been consistently loaned on, so people are feeling really comfortable with them.
I can tell you some of those bigger lenders that we see: Gulf Coast Bank, ASI Federal Credit Union, Wells Fargo, just a couple of examples off the top of my head. NOLA Lending as well, so if you're familiar with them, go ahead and approach them if you want to go ahead and build and do a construction loaner for your resale purposes. Any other questions? Question in the back?
So every property we do, we write through U.S. National. We always tell people to go back to them because U.S. National has what you call a reissue rate. It's a discounted rate, and they've already guaranteed the property and guaranteed the work we've done on it. You can also take it to WFG National, who's like Bayou Title and a few other companies, like just off the top of my head. The problem with that is they will typically charge you a fee to recheck everything and verify that it meets whatever their standards are. So if you go to U.S. National, it's a lot quicker, easier process because they've already written the title insurance policy.
WFG also caps it at $250,000. So what that means is that if you're looking to build beyond that, then there'll be that cap. You won't be able to get more coverage. So U.S. National, whatever it is that the amount is, right, whether you're building a home that's $500,000 or $1 million, will be able to issue you insurance for that amount. Question?
U.S. National Title is a company that is owned by people. I mean, it's a company. I don't know. It's owned by a company.
That's a lie. It's almost Civic source. You're basically writing title insurance of your own properties that aren't properly researched.
You have any other questions?
It's a title insurance company that's completely separate from Civic Source. And
Same ownership. Actually, it's on the website, but yeah.
At any rate, you're going to be able to resell any of your properties. You should not have any issues as long as you go with an agent of U.S. National, and you'll be able to resell on your properties.
So, going back to the bidding now, when you bid Proxy, like you were saying, and they put a certain amount in, and it's going back and forth with maybe somebody that's real-time bidding with the Proxy, did that person that's bidding the Proxy come in at the last, like you were saying, biddings extended and bid with outside of the Proxy that they did?
So you can always place, yes, any bid in the last few minutes of the auction, but we're going to continue extending the auction. There's never going to be a moment that you go ahead and you place a bid, last few seconds, and bidding's done. So let's say if we're even at 8:17, let's say, right? And you come in even with that proxy, right? That proxy has gone ahead and it's bid, right? Last few minutes of the auction. It's going to keep going, that proxy, until it reaches your maximum, right? Which is why it's important that you're behind your computer, right? When it's getting close to 8 o'clock, I would be right at my computer making sure, because you never know if it's going to continue extending. We'll continue extending until we have a window of 3 minutes where there's no more bids. Does that clarify that?
No.
I'm sorry, your question again then?
The Proxy bid that you bid,
Yes.
is that person allowed to make bids outside the Proxy bid? Can they say 10,000 Proxy, but now they see it's gone to 10,500, can they now go 11,000?
Oh, yes, of course.
Absolutely. It's just like you're just setting a bid amount. And so if they come in, so you set that proxy bid, you enter just a bid like any other bid. And then as it goes up above that, you'll get an email saying, hey, this bidding amount just went above it.
Right.
You can jump back on and bid more if you want to.
Yes, yes.
And just one last question. I heard y'all use the term adjudicated property and then tax sale. Is that synonymous or are those two different?
Somewhat. So, but the problem is that tax sale encompasses also those 1-year taxes where someone pays a tax certificate and then at the end of 3 years they take ownership of the property. But what we are selling are adjudicated properties, which went up for tax sale. No one purchased the property, and then then they go through a 5-year redemptive period, and then we are able to sell them and what's great about it is we're able to cure the work beforehand rather than have to sell them to you and then have you hire an attorney to fix it after the fact.
Now, if you are interested in those tax certificate sales, they happen once a year. The bulk majority of them are June and July here in Louisiana. The earliest is in New Orleans. They typically have sales of thousands of properties for 3 days. It starts in April. We'll be doing information sessions to get you up to speed with that because that's a completely different bidding process. It's a bid down system based off of a percentage, and there's a lot that you should know to it and how to handle that property after the 3 years if that delinquent doesn't come back. But it's a great way for you to make some great interest on your money, up to 41% in 3 years. You get 5% penalty plus 1% a month, so some people are just buying those liens to make some quick cash. So we can talk about that.
You saying on these pairs that they have a 3-year or you can actually hang on property?
So no, those are for those annual tax certificate sales. That's not adjudicated properties. That will only happen once a year. These adjudicated properties, they once went up for that tax sale, right, that annual tax sale, and they failed to sell. And now, by the time they're on civicsource.com, they've been delinquent at least 5 years.
Okay. Well, then I'm kind of wanting a little bit more about, I guess I'm understanding you're part of the adjudication process.
Right.
So they're not completely adjudicated until you get a free and clear lien on it. And that's, you've got to wait for that. So they're not really 100% adjudicated.
They're not removed until the deed is recorded and then property's then put in someone else's name. It's a foreclosure and there's like steps in the process and it ends with that deed being recorded and the property going into the new purchaser's name.
I was under the impression that adjudicated means like, we've already done everything and just good, clean property and you shouldn't have anybody looking at any recourse after
Well,
you put the bid in or.
That's what the purchase price is paying us to get it from the mess that it was before to good, clean property.
When it's adjudicated, it's that it failed to sell at that previous tax certificate sale, and the parish, right, or the city, they don't own it. Rather, they have the responsibility of maintaining it, right? And it's up to them as to how they're going to go forward and then sell it via auction.
So you are part of the adjudication.
Right. You putting the deposit down and initiating the property for auction is part of us taking a property that someone's abandoned here in St. Bernard Parish and putting it back into commerce, into the market to, have people put loans on it again.
What we're doing is making this so much easier for your local government, right, for St. Bernard Parish. Imagine, that's how when we first started in the city of New Orleans, imagine how is the city going to find, right, half of the city's population that left after Hurricane Katrina? Right? That's software when we're searching obituaries and we're using all this sophisticated technology to find those folks, and then everything is automated, every single piece of mail, right? Imagine if there's plenty of people here in the local offices doing all of that work, how extensive that is, and it's because the process is so difficult that we are contracting with the local parishes. And important for you to know as well that that overbid amount, we don't stay with that amount. So let's say if that property starts at $5,500 and it ends up selling for $200,000, that difference is going straight back to St. Bernard Parish government. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, the last part about the overbids? Was that it? Yes. So what I was saying was that Civic Source only makes money off of the legal costs, right, associated with the sale. That's where our profit margin is. As far as any of the overbids, so let's say if the property's at $5,500, right, that's what it sells at, okay, great. But how about if it sells at $200,000, right? that overbid, that difference is going straight back to St. Bernard Parish. We don't stay with that overbid amount. Like, for example, some auctioneers may say, we'll stay with 20% of whatever that final price was or whatever the case is. We only get paid for the legal costs.
And so, in turn, if it only sells for the minimum bid, then that covers you, but the parish makes nothing.
Correct.
Any other questions?
I guess, the other question I had was, y'all have been using this same procedure since Hurricane Katrina?
We
So I can know that the same title, notifications and stuff were given, even if I bought them prior to this website being set up?
No, ma'am. We have been doing this procedure since 2015. That's when we started writing title insurance on adjudicated properties, and we created this process that we were able to get a bunch of people to sign off on that says, hey, they're doing it right on the front end, so we feel comfortable insuring it. Any property that was done before that, you'll have to take to an attorney and ask them what they see as the next steps in the process.
Now, to follow up on that, the property that you purchased, you said that it was prior then to 2015, so that's why you're going to take a look at it?
Bring it
Okay.
up afterwards, and I like talking about those. Those are fun. So,
I
yeah.
think that may be the reason, and obviously why you've been experiencing a lot of those issues. We'll take a look at that, because if we didn't handle it, right, if we didn't put it through that entire process, we sent you the
We did
noticing.
the noticing prior to the sale.
The noticing prior to the sale, okay. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at that
Yeah.
separately then. Great. Any other questions before we wrap up? No? Well, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I hope that this presentation was helpful for you, and please make sure to give me a call, send me an email if you have any follow-up questions, and we're directly located right in downtown New Orleans on the corner of Gravier and O'Keefe, so if you'd like to set up a meeting and follow up, I'd be happy to do that, but thanks so much for coming out.
Thank y'all.